Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Marketing Minute. I'm your host, Adam Small, and with me today is Kimberly Small. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Doing great.
Great. And we have two special guests in the room today. The first one is Katie Hughes. Hi, Katie.
Hello. How are you?
Doing well, and you?
Great, thank you.
Great. And we also have Michael Kirchhoff. Hi, Michael. How are you?
Doing super. Thanks for asking.
Great. So Michael and Katie both are loan consultants, and Michael's got a special designation that he'll talk about, and Katie does too. Let's start with you, Katie, and let's just introduce yourself, give us a little bit of your background, and tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so my name's Katie Hughes. I'm with Caliber Home Loans. I've been in the real estate and finance industry for 8 years. So love lending. I love the problem solving piece and love helping people realize the home ownership dream.
Great. And Michael?
Hello, everyone. I am Michael Kirchhoff with Caliber Home Loans. I am a designated renovation loan consultant for the company, and Katie and I actually work together as a team. Thanks for having us today.
Well, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. So there are a number of reasons why somebody might get into a renovation loan. You know, there's selling a property, you want to update it before they sell so they can hopefully get more money out of it. They're going to buy a new one that's a fixer-upper, that sort of thing. And, you know, or they just want the place they're currently living in to look better. What are some of the other scenarios where somebody might use a home renovation loan?
Renovation loans typically are a choice or a solution from a borrower. So anytime an inspection response may come back that is going to require certain repairs to be done, the seller doesn't have the funds to do so, a renovation loan's a really good fit for that scenario. Again, getting back to a customer choice simply allows them to make the repairs more specific to their needs and wants.
Okay. Are there any differences in how each situation should be approached? You know, basically, you know, depending on what the end goal is, should they be approached differently?
No. Renovation loans are all literally done under the same blanket. It's more specific to the repairs that are actually either required or the repairs wanting to be done.
Okay.
So what type of loans are available for renovations?
There's a few different types. So FHA 203K is the first one, a 203K limited and versus a standard. So there's actually two types of FHA 203Ks. For the first one, the 203K limited is for a minor cosmetic type of repair. So perhaps you want to add in an HVAC to your purchase. Perhaps you want to do a kitchen remodel. But then there's the FHA full, which is a little more comprehensive and a little bit bigger. So if you're redoing an entire house, that's going to be a great option. Then flipping over to the conventional FNMA home style loan. The home style allows for more flexibility for purchasers or owners and doesn't necessarily have to have minor restrictions that the FHA 203K has.
Are there any loans that are unique and have different qualifications? So is it different for first-time home buyers, or are there other unique circumstances that?
Now, for renovation, there's certainly not anything that is specific for any borrower or purchaser and any parameters that they have to meet. So it's available literally to any customer.
It doesn't matter the type of loan that they already have on their home. You know, say I'm wanting to renovate my home and I've got a VA loan, you know, which they have various requirements and stuff like that for VA loans. So is it impacted, is a renovation loan impacted by that sort of the existing mortgage, I guess would be the question I have.
Any existing mortgage is simply treated as a payoff.
Okay.
So any new renovation product is going to supersede that and also be paid off as well.
Okay.
And there's the difference between what we're talking about, which is a 203K product. That's replacing what's called your first mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
What it sounds like maybe you're referring to is a second mortgage.
Right. So
what
we're talking about is replacing the first mortgage. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the loan types that you talked about, is it different for each location throughout the United States, or are those pretty standard across the board?
They're fairly standard across the board. Indiana will have some specific designations for various borrowers. However, the general guidelines are going to be the same.
Okay. If someone's buying a property, is there a benefit to them using the same mortgage company for both their mortgage loan and a renovation loan? Or you said it if it's
Well, that
a
kind of gets back
large,
to the question that we just asked, where she was telling us that this is a replacement loan. I shouldn't really call it a replacement loan per se, but you're essentially
It's
paying off
a refinance.
with extra for renovation, right?
Correct.
is that just for the one type, or if they're doing minor modifications, is that also in a replacement?
That would also be the replacement as
Okay.
well, regarding what we are talking about.
Okay.
So one of the things too that's pretty key to understand here is whether it's a refinance or a purchase, these loans are available for both refinance and purchase transactions, and it's all one loan, and it's a first lien position loan. So it's not necessarily a home equity line of credit or a second mortgage. It's amortized over 30 years. They also have a choice with Fannie Mae Home Style if they want to do it on a lower term for 15 years and so forth. FHA loans are amortized over that 30-year time frame.
So we're really not talking about a second mortgage at all here, right? We're talking about kind of what you see on the home renovation shows, where they see three houses and they buy the one that's in the absolute worst shape, and they fix it up at the same time before they actually move into it, right? So it's really just one loan with enough left over to not only cover the cost of the house, but fix the home up as well. That's what we're talking about?
Yes, exactly. Except don't keep giving us expectations like HGTV, because those are still
Right. Well, that's a formula, right? Yeah,
Right,
it's only going to cost
exactly.
$10,000, and you know what? Now we need to replace all of your electrical wiring, and that's going to be $50,000, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, but the concept is the same, where you buy the home and you get enough left over to, enough money to actually fix the home up in the way that you want, whether it be just adding an HVAC or doing a complete remodel.
Thank you, Adam, very much for bringing that up. One of the I would guess is simply a misconception with a lot of the television shows and the reality TV shows out there, is that individuals can come in, they can renovate these properties, and they can do extensive renovation repairs, and it only costs $25,000. That's pretty much a big misconception, because a lot of these television shows have budgets, they have production budgets, what have
Right.
you. You're not going to be able to repair and put bamboo flooring in 1,500 square feet for $1,800. That's just not going to work. So
I wish it did, though.
We all
that'd be
wish
amazing,
it did.
right?
That would be great, and our clients would be thrilled. Our contractors would probably beat us with a stick, but other than that, I mean, that's one of the misconceptions that certainly is out there. So we always set that expectation for our clients, just to be aware and know what are the means within their budget. That way everyone's on the same page, and more specific, whether it's our realtor referral partners, our specific buyers, our contractors as well. They're getting a better understanding of what that customer's needs and wants are. And that's where we continually have our focal point.
Great.
And you work with the customer to make sure that they have a contingency fee or contingency amount in place for unexpected things within the renovation.
Absolutely, and thanks for bringing that up as well, Kimberly. One of the things with these loans is they are always set with a specific contingency reserve for repairs that are just simply unforeseen. Whether they're coming in to redo flooring, they find out the subflooring is in disrepair and needs to be completely replaced. That's what that contingency reserve is for. Ironically enough, the contingency can also be used for repairs that they did not include in the bid, and they want to also utilize those funds as well. If they don't use the contingency reserve, where does that money go? Well, it certainly doesn't just disappear. It's actually going to be a principal reduction on their actual loan if it is not used.
So they don't get to just pocket it.
They can't pocket it. Boy, that would be nice if they could. No, that goes directly to what's called a principal reduction.
Right.
Now, there are other fees that are associated with any renovation loan. Those fees are and can be, of course, financed into the overall package. And those typical fees are going to be any type of title update fees, appraisal inspection fees if needed, consultant inspection fees, as well as any consultant fees there too as well.
So is an inspection required in order to do a renovation loan?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And several inspections can be done. That is just primarily the watchdog from a consultant standpoint of, is the workflow being completed in a workmanship-like fashion. So that's what those inspections are designed for.
So you have parameters in place to help guide the process and make sure that there's not a giant red flag in the property, basically, that nothing was something big wasn't disclosed and the homeowners didn't know about.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things as well, as when the due diligence that's conducted on the entire process with these loans, appraisal-wise, consultants for any of those larger projects are for that specific reason.
Okay. So you had mentioned home equity loans as well. What would make a difference as far as, or are there other types of loans that somebody doing a renovation should consider as opposed to doing a renovation loan?
So the main difference between the two products, really, with the renovation loan, you are replacing your first mortgage. And then with a home equity, it would be considered a second mortgage. The benefit with doing the renovation loan would be if you're doing larger renovations. It's going to allow us to go in and really gut the house. If you need a new HVAC and you already own the home, it may not be beneficial to do the renovation loan. Then you can look at doing a second mortgage or a home equity line of credit. Another benefit would be that the renovation loan is amortized over 30 years. So you have longer to pay it, which means lower payment, which might be more comfortable for you versus the home equity products, which are going to be 10, 15, maybe 20 on the high end.
Right. Along those lines, you just kind of said if you're just getting your air conditioner replaced or something like that, you probably don't want to go with a home renovation loan. So who else might not be a good candidate? What other situations might not make you a good candidate for this type of loan as opposed to maybe a home equity or something like that?
I would have to say it's based really on that individual. If they're doing, of course, minor repairs to that extent, whether, hey, we needed to replace a water softener, or we didn't need a full HVAC repair, and bottom line, it comes out to about $4,000 in overall cost. A renovation loan is just simply not a good fit for that, just with the expense that's going to come out for those repairs. Any individual that is, I guess, would understand the fact that they are going to have contractors in their home for a short period of time.
Right.
If that's a privacy problem, a renovation loan is not for them, because they're going to have contractors in and out of the property.
Somebody's going to be in the house, right?
Exactly. So, that's why it is imperative that a solid relationship with the contractor is established. Of course, and that is always the goal as we try to do that. So
I think it's been described as a short-term marriage before.
I would say short-term marriage is probably the best way to describe it, because here you can only, I guess, put yourself in that position to where you're coming home from work, you don't have countertops. How are we going to feed the kids tonight? Are we doing pizza again? And Bob's underneath the sink making all sorts of noise and whatever that may be. Those are considerations that
a
need
few
to come
choice
into.
words too.
Right. Precisely. So it's one of the things, as I explain this, especially when I get a customer that's doing an extensive build out, it's kind of like that movie, The Money Pit. The end result.
Yeah.
And the end result is there, but boy, it was hysterical getting there. And
Not at the time, though.
Not at the time, but boy, at the end, it was well worth well worth the project.
Well, and just to piggyback off that, when somebody buys a new home and they have these big dreams of what it's going to look like if they're planning to renovate or expand, there are some considerations that they really need to think about. For instance, are they in a neighborhood where there's a homeowners association, and are they going to stop anything that they're trying to do? Or are they going to get permitted by the city for any extensions or those types of things? So is that something that you guys help with as well, or do they need to come armed with all of that information before even talking to you?
Absolutely, Kimberly, and that brings up a lot of validity. Permits are going to be required on specific jobs. Literally every county in the state has a list of certain permits because it is county related. We require those permits to be noted within the bid, and also those permits be pulled before work can begin after the fact. So that's one thing our renovation team establishes, once we actually close the loan itself. Homeowners Association approval. It's imperative that the new buyer make sure that the association doesn't have specific requirements that are going to need approval through that homeowners association. So any kind of exterior painting, specific shingles on a property. There are some associations that have certain requirements that the homeowners within that neighborhood or that PUD, which is called, or a planned unit development, is going to require. So they can't come in and obviously paint a house a very light pink with some mauve shutters or whatever that may be.
Right.
They're going to have to follow some specific rules.
So let's talk about the scenario that someone gets a renovation loan and they have a contingency in place, but either they realize throughout the process that their tastes are a little bit more expensive than they originally thought, or they find something that, despite having an inspection, shows up that requires being addressed, and there's not enough funds. How are those situations handled?
It's always better to have that budgeted up front, because a scenario works in this instance anytime. If there's an overage in contingency, those funds have to come from the individual borrower. So that is a big difference there. So they need to make sure that they have ample funds, that their contractor has bidded ample funds that are available for any repair, especially if they're doing some extensive, either higher end items, so whether it's that granite countertop compared to something that's a little different, that's thousands of dollars more, it's much more recommended that they have that at the higher end prior to close than having to come out of pocket to do so.
So they should, if they're gonna fudge the numbers, fudge them higher than lower.
Exactly. Or as far as the budget is concerned, they want to make sure that they budgeted ample funds for the project itself, and even on that higher end. Because the bottom line is, it comes down to it. If those funds aren't used, they can be used for something else that wasn't on the project. And, as I go and I talk to customers, it's like, hey, we budgeted $15,000 for this kitchen repair, which is usually that's a pretty good figure on an extensive high-end kitchen remodel with some of the smaller homes. It's like, hey, but we had an extra $4,000 that's left here, blow out and put a beautiful deck on the home. That's some of the things that you're going to be entertaining.
Right.
Those are some of the items that I always like to share with our borrowers, just to make sure that they understand and it's meeting that expectation. It's like, okay, now I know how this works and I'm not confused. I don't want to put myself in a trap. There's nothing worse than having that scenario or making that phone call. You guys have to pony up $3,000 and work with your contractor.
Right.
But as you mentioned earlier, if they are under budget, that can go towards principal as well instead of another project.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. Do you have any suggestions for real estate agents that are working with clients that want to buy a property that requires a renovation, or maybe even they're selling the listing as well?
Well, realtors can really integrate this into their business model and develop their network in the right way. So networking with the right lender, contractor, and consultant is key to allowing this process to become successful. So as we mentioned, it's a short-term marriage. So communication is key in marriage. So communication is going to be key with this realtor, with understanding, because they might have that little bit of a deeper relationship with the borrower.
Right.
So letting us know if that anxiety is starting to get high. So then we can all just keep everybody on track. So that's really important.
So really sounds like a get to know me sort of thing, right?
Absolutely.
Reach out and talk to renovation loan specialists and know who they are. That way, when they do come across a client that wants to do this, whether they're buying or selling, they can go, oh, I've got the perfect person for you to talk to.
Exactly. It's a matchmaking scenario.
Right. Okay, great. Before we wrap up, you guys have any other thing that you want to talk about, or any other misconceptions you want to talk about?
I would say one of the more I'd say misunderstandings and misconceptions is these loans have literally gotten a bad rap over the course of years. And the reason I bring that up is because several different companies tried to get into the renovation business marketplace. They didn't have certain divisions or enough education for their loan officers to do so. So they got this more of a reputation that they took very long to close. They never close. Contractors are difficult to deal with. That is a big misunderstanding. One of the things is, time frame for closing. Certainly, depending upon the extent of the project, we want to have ample time frame so everybody is, again, on the same playing field to get it closed. But in hindsight, from a contracting standpoint, these funds are held in escrow. The money's not going anywhere. So the contractor simply has to do their job.
Right.
I don't know in their right mind what contractor wouldn't want to jump on this train. So that's another one of the misconceptions that come out there. So, kind of piggybacking to the question that Katie answered as well, we like to establish that with our referral partners and network. And I think the biggest key is just the simplicity of educating everybody and setting everybody's expectations so everybody knows.
So another misconception is that we have a list of contractors that you have to use. That's not true. You can use your own contractor. If you have that relationship, we prefer that. And then they have to go through a process of being validated with us. Mm-hmm. So that's included in the time frame that we give you. So it's not above and beyond the time frame that we would set that expectation. It would be included in that.
Okay.
So, and that's the same with anything. The homeowner ultimately has the choice of where they go for their realtor, their mortgage, their contractor, and all of those things. But it helps to have that relationship with those types of people, both mortgage agents and real estate agents, knowing people that will give good testimonials, that they have good testimonials and a good track record that they can refer to their clients if they don't already have somebody.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So anything else before we wrap it up? No? Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for listening to the Real Estate Marketing Minute. Thank you guys, Katie and Michael, for being with us today. We do appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you both very much.